This has been the Biden-Harris agenda. Kamala Harris has been an integral architect and executor of the policies of the Biden-Harris administration. And when you talk about the important business that she is committed to continuing and finishing, things like paid family leave, making permanent the child tax credit, making child care more affordable, raising the minimum wage, respecting workers, and helping to strengthen unions.
There it is, Susan. Thanks. She's the architect, Trish.
Great. So you want another 4 years of that? No, thank you. No, thank you. And you know what? Here's the thing, Mark. It's going to be worse than what we saw, because this is a kind of radical socialism that, I don't know, you see in places like Venezuela. I don't mean to scare people, but this is the reality. When you start talking about price fixing because you're worried about gouging at the grocery store, let me tell you, my colleague and I over at 76 Research, we did a whole analysis of this about a month ago. And you know what? A lot of these companies are actually seeing much less in terms of profitability. So no, this idea that somehow shrinkflation and price gouging is going on, that's actually not the case. Not the case at all. You know what they're dealing with? Higher energy costs. And therefore, it costs more to get goods from point A to point B, because you're paying more for the gas prices and the trucks. I mean, it's actually pretty simple, and they could have avoided this crisis all along. I mean, they knew they were going to get into a situation with Russia, right? And you weren't going to have the natural gas. Therefore, you weren't going to have the energy. So why would you cut off your source of energy here in America at the same time? I mean, it's like the right hand doesn't talk to the left, or maybe there's too many left hands, pun intended, right, involved there. And I can't imagine how the American people and our economy are going to stomach another 4 years of this, and probably worse.
You know, Hogan, earlier this afternoon, President Trump spoke about mortgages.
Mm-hmm. The cost of a typical monthly mortgage has doubled since I left office, and that number was about 3 months old from government, and now it's tripled. We had mortgage rates at around 2%, close to 2%, and they're now at 10%, and you can't get a mortgage. So that means it's a lot higher than 10%. I guess it is whenever they want to give over the money, and that's a lot more than 10%.
Well, many Americans can't afford to buy their first house or even stay in their current house. And tomorrow, I hear, or soon, Kamala is going to supposedly talk not just about government price controls, rent control, and also have the government start building houses.
Yeah, it's so amazing that this administration continues to push policies that have kicked us in the teeth. They have not seen the error of their ways, because in their mind, these are successes for them. These types of price controls are successes. It's going to hurt the American people ultimately. We know we're paying more for gas and for groceries, for rent, for house payments, as the president just said, for car payments. Everything is higher under this economic plan. And what's so offensive to me is that when Kamala Harris goes up there and says, you guys are paying too much for your goods and services, well, on day one, I'm going to work to fix it. Day one? What have you been doing for the last 4 years? If only you had a position of power from which to try and fix something for the American people. Oh, that's right, you did. You were the vice president, and you caused all of these problems. Now you're saying you're going to try and fix it? This is what you want. You want skyrocketing prices, because you guys are absolutely right. Energy matters to the American people. These companies didn't become greedy in the last 6 months. They always want to turn a profit. When you make it too difficult, too expensive for them to do business, they pass it on to the consumer. That's just common sense.
You know, Trish, as I think about this plan from Kamala to have the government build 3 million new homes, do you think she'd pay Donald Trump to build some houses? Because he's pretty good at that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Look, I mean, they don't like Trump. They've never liked Trump. But let's be clear. They do this to any Republican. When it looked like Ron DeSantis might have some legs, wow, they were all over him. When it looked like Nikki Haley was in the mix, they were all over her, calling her all kinds of things, including racist, because, she didn't give the right definition of the Civil War. I mean, this is what they do, okay? This is what they do. Think what they did to Mitt Romney. It's not like this is any different. The only difference is you got a guy now who's willing to fight back. He's like, oh, yeah, you're going to go after me? Well, yeah. I'm going to call you out. And he should call her out all day long. Everybody needs to call her out. Her policies are bad for America, period. Full stop. We are not Venezuela. I sure as heck hope we don't become it.